This is Secret Stories, and my name is Mary Cachapalia. Many people cannot be on camera because their employer, their family, their friends, or their church or synagogue would roll their eyes, ridicule, misunderstand, or even fire them. Secret Stories allow you to tell your story with anonymity. Here I read experiencers' accounts emailed to us at Breaking the Silence. Thank you for supporting us through YouTube membership or Patreon. Your support helps us all break the silence. Helen sends her account to us from Yorkshire. Hi, Mary. My name is Helen. I'm 50 years young from Yorkshire in the UK. I'm a lifelong experiencer. My childhood abduction memories are fragmented, but I'll do my best to describe them. The first time I remember being taken was in 1980. I was 7 years old. It was Saturday night, and I was staying at my grandparents' house for the weekend. We were all sitting in the living room watching family game shows when, for no reason, I suddenly stood up and walked out of the room. I went down a dark hallway, and as I got to the kitchen, my arm automatically started reaching up to turn the light on, when I froze midway because, by the light of the dying embers of the coal fire, I could see the black shapes of 3 tall figures wearing round helmets moving past the kitchen window toward the back gate. This should have scared me to death, but I felt nothing. I just kept walking until I reached the wide open back door. Now, my grandma always locked that back door at night, so I don't know if I had unlocked it or if they did. And again, this should have terrified me, and it was pretty clear at this point that I was being controlled somehow. I was in an almost trance-like state, as if someone had flicked a switch and put me on autopilot, because I have no reason to be there, didn't feel any fear, and wasn't reacting to things in a normal way. I just calmly stepped outside and walked around the side of the house, toward the garden gate. I never once looked at the figures that were around me, and I felt like they were just there to escort me to wherever we were going. The next thing that I remember is standing at the little wooden gate looking at a blinding white light that stretched all the way across the garden. It was lit up like a football field. There was a white mist rolling down the left-hand side, and this is where my memory ends. The next thing I remember is standing in the living room doorway with my visibly stressed out grandma saying, "There you are! I thought you got lost." So I'd obviously been gone long enough for her to notice and start to worry. After that night, my grandparents' house never felt the same again. I'd leave the light on all night, hiding under the covers in a cold sweat, not daring to even use the bathroom because I was so scared that if I did, they'd see me and take me away. My grandma couldn't understand why I'd suddenly started wetting the bed at an age when I really shouldn't have been. She just put a plastic sheet on the mattress, and that was that. Looking back, I feel like she must have had an idea about what was causing it, because my mom, who's a lifelong experiencer like me, remembers my grandma coming in from working at night shift at a local factory in the 60s and telling her how, when she was waiting at the bus stop to come home, she'd seen what she described as an airship coming down the middle of the road and that people were standing at the windows looking out at her. Then my mom said she looked confused, shook her head, and said, "No, that's not right. It was just an owl." So yeah, we're both pretty sure that my grandma was an experiencer too. But either she was made to forget or just refused to talk about it. Anyway, it was around the time when I was 7 to 10 years old that all the paranormal activity started happening at the house. We had everything from a kettle and a stereo unit turning on by themselves, and the sound of heavy footsteps and drawers being opened upstairs, to an invisible something blowing in my ear, and the mattress being pressed down as if someone was sitting at the foot of the bed. It got so bad at one point that all of us were sleeping in the living room together because we were too scared to stay upstairs. I also have a memory of sitting cross-legged in the middle of my bed with my head tilted back, looking up at these fuzzy, multicolored, torpedo-shaped lights that were slowly moving around the perimeter of the ceiling. They started getting faster and faster until they were whizzing around in a colorful blur of light that looked like it was missing the corners and creating a circle. I have no memory of what happened next, but in the morning I remember walking downstairs into the kitchen and my mom bursting out laughing because my hair was full of static electricity and was stuck up all over the place. I honestly looked like I'd been rubbing my head with a balloon all night. I was getting zapped with an electric charge when I touched anything, too. Not great when you're trying to get ready for school. Anyway, things settled down for a while after that, and although I remembered the paranormal events, I had no memory anymore of the abduction or my nighttime visitors. At this point, I thought I'd grown up in a haunted house and was interested in ghosts, not UFOs. My abduction in 1989, when I was 16, changed everything. It was a normal summer morning when my mom blurted out to me that during the night she'd woken up halfway up her bedroom wall with my dad desperately trying to grab her ankle. She said there were human-shaped beings made of light standing at the bottom of her bed, and when my dad failed to pull her down, he'd launched himself at them, and that the room had lit up in a huge burst of brilliant white light that exploded outwards toward the window. I never once thought she wasn't telling me the truth, and I instinctively knew with absolute certainty that they'd be coming for me next. Don't ask me how I knew, because at this point I hadn't got my memories back, but on some level I just knew. So that night, I went to bed and tried to mentally prepare myself. Looking back now, I think that at some time during my childhood, my relationship with them must have changed because I wasn't frightened, just full of anticipation. I went to bed naked that night, which, again, was not something I normally do. I just somehow knew that's what they wanted. They came as soon as it got dark. I was lying curled up in a fetal position with my eyes squeezed tightly shut when I felt my head start to slide backwards off the pillow. I'll never forget what happened next. I started trying to calm myself down, thinking, shh, 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 don't panic, don't panic. There's nothing you can do about it anyway. And a voice in my head said, brave girl. And I didn't just hear her voice, I felt her approval. Then I'm missing a big chunk of time. I mean hours. I was gone all night and not brought back until it was starting to get light. I've tried for years to get these memories back, naturally, but so far no luck. We don't have any hypnotherapists in the UK who can help abductees, so I probably never will, which I'm okay with now, although it's taken me years to make peace with it. So this next part is really difficult to explain because I don't fully understand it myself. But the next thing I remember is feeling like I was coming around after an operation. I'm not saying anything like that happened to me. If it did, I have no memory of it, just that it's the closest thing I can liken it to. Everything was black, and trying to regain consciousness felt like wading through treacles. It was like being inside my own mind and someone was flicking my awareness on again, and I was trying to claw my way back to the surface. Only I wasn't alone. A gray was inside my mind with me, helping me come back around. When I'd managed to gain enough awareness and realize where I was and who I was with, I thought, oh my God, This is so important, not just for me, but for humanity. Then I thought, I've got to think of something to ask. I managed to think, where are you from? And immediately we showed a quick image of stars in the universe. Then I realized that we weren't speaking with our mouths, and I started to get confused again. And I thought, what's going on? Am I empathic? I meant telepathic, but I was so befuddled at this point that it came out completely wrong. And in my mind's eye, I could see the gray slowly shaking his head, and I felt his amusement at my confusion, almost like he was chuckling to himself, which sounds ridiculous, but that's what happened. I felt like he knew me, that there was even fondness there, and I felt completely safe with him. My next memory is of being upright but not being able to feel my body. I was naked. I should have felt cold, but there was no sensation whatsoever. I think I might have been strapped to a table or even floating, maybe, because I couldn't feel my feet on the floor. I was in front of a big curved window, looking at a top quarter section of the Earth, which is when I realized we're off planet. Then he placed his left hand on my neck and tilted my head up to look into his eyes. I'm 5 foot, so he must have been 5.5 to 6 feet tall, although I don't know if my feet were on the floor or not, so it's hard to tell. Either way, he was taller than me. I couldn't describe the rest of him because all I remember are the big slanted black eyes that I felt like I was falling into. He showed me an image of whales floating upright in a small section of the ocean, and I took this to mean we should be taking care of the planet, the environment, and all life on it, which honestly he was preaching to the choir because me and my mom had both gone vegan the year before and were both still vegan 35 years later. It was just confirmation for me that I was on the right track. My next memory is of being what I felt like a bubble and being floated back to my bedroom. My eyes were closed, and I don't know if they told me to do this or if it was my way of coping because I don't like heights. And I know there was a breeze because I could hear the sound of leaves moving as we went past the big tree in front of my house. But I didn't feel the air on my skin or feel cold, which I don't understand. Then I was smoothly floated through my window and tucked back into bed. And that was the end of the abductions. Things have ramped up again over the last few years, and I've had several interactions with other entities since then, but I'll save those for another day. Thank you for allowing me to share my experiences, Mary. It can be a lonely road sometimes. Love and light, Helen. Thank you, Helen, for sharing with us your accounts. And thank you for sharing your account with us. It takes guts to share this experience, and when you feel ready, I will share your story for you. This is Mary Cachapalia. May love and light be with you.